What's going on, y'all? Happy 2022. New year, new us, as they say. So, we're back for the first video of 2022 on the channel. And it is my January TBR. So, like I said, this video is probably going to be pretty short because, honestly, a lot of these books I'm not super familiar with. But Christmas really changed my TBR, and I'm kind of scrambling to figure out, like, where I'm going to go from here. So, these probably be a shorter video than the others, but I'm excited to read all these books. So this month is going to be essentially straight fantasy, as my fantasy kick has continued into the new year. So the first book I'm going to read is Joe Abercrombie's The Blade Itself, book 1 of the First Law trilogy. And I'll shoot you straight, I don't really know what this book is about. From what I've read in like that front insert there, it's following the story of a few specific characters, and I've heard it's very character driven, especially in the first one. It's not very plot heavy, and there's a lot of anti-heroes, like that gray line, the following on gray lines of moralities, and a lot of great dialogue, political intrigues, and that type of betrayal. So very excited to check that out and see what the hype is about with Mr. Joe Abercrombie. I'm sure I'm going to love it. The next book I'm hoping to read is Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Ames. And the cover of this book, I think, is just sweet. And like I said, the whole concept of it seems pretty neat to me. So Clay Cooper and his group of mercenaries were this great band of mercenaries, and their glory days have passed, and down the road when they're old, drunk, and fat, one of their buddies comes up from their former crew of mercenaries and is asking for help, and they go on an adventure from there. I got no idea what the adventure is, and I'm kind of looking forward to going in blind and having no prejudgments, no idea of what's going on in that first little bit, because I'm just going to take it all in and drink it all in. But I've heard this book is exciting, and that's just a kick-ass cover. So excited to see what the hype's all about with it as well. Next is an author I've heard nothing but excellent things about. I honestly don't think I've heard anyone say anything bad about him. So that is Mr. John Gwynne and book 1 of The Faithful and the Fallen, Malice. So, like I said, this series is about a land that is in like the era of peace that is quickly coming to an end after a war between the men and the giants. And now this peace is starting to get unsettled, and they're seeing these worms everywhere. So, like I said, and it's following the story of young Corbin, and I assume some other adventures as well, because fantasy novels normally don't focus on one. I've heard these books are action-packed and high intensity, and there's 4 of them that are all about that thick. I think they're all clocking in around 700 pages, so I'm very excited to see where that series goes. And then, I figure I'll have read 3 heavy fantasy books by the end of this month, so I want to cap the month off with something a little lighter. Don't want to read all that super heavy fantasy and read another one, because then I'll probably want to get into books 2 in February, or maybe at least 1 book, 2 of those. So the final book that I'm going to cap the month off with is going to be a nice, relaxing read, and it'll be my dipping my toes into the water of Mr. Terry Pratchett's Discworld. This is a series I'm very excited to get into. The books are super short. They're great, I feel like, palate cleansers and ways of just kind of reading all these heavy books, reading books that are going to be like disturbing, emotionally intense, or just plot heavy, character heavy. Because like I said, my plethora of reading now is kind of like reading heavy fantasy novels. Like not just this month, but in general. Read some heavy nonfiction stuff. Read some pretty like disturbing, transgressive literature. Pushes the boundaries. So it's always nice to have books like Discworld that I can jump into, a 200-page book, and just kind of hammer that out and kind of have a much more relaxing reading experience than a lot of the other times that I'm reading. So like I said, guys, I made a mistake last month in December of bogging myself down with too many books. And then it kind of put me in a slump because I think I had my own expectation of I need to read these. I set the goal. So I'm kind of easing off that pedal, and I'm going to cut back to about a book a week. I might, if I'm feeling frisky, I might throw something else in there. But as of now, I'm easing into 2022, cruising in, and I'll try to ramp up as we get into the year. So those are the 4 books I'm checking out this month. Let me know what y'all are reading. Happy 2022, and I have a feeling it's going to be a heck of a year. All right, see y'all in the next video, but until then, stay reading, y'all.